This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your live safari. We are watching the sun, the star that is the center of the solar system, rising. And of course, it's getting nice and high, providing us with lots of light, and hopefully a little bit sooner we will be provided with warmth, although I'm not wearing a jacket. It's very chilly this morning. And of course, this is the beginning of what is going to be an incredible safari. We will be coming to you from many different locations across South Africa, different habitats, different terrains, and different species. So everyone, get ready to jump on board, because it's that time of day for your live bumble through the African bush. Welcome on board, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here, at least on the back of my safari vehicle, one half of the feeds from Djuma Private Game Reserves. And of course, we've started the morning on quarantine, the best place to be. My name is Lauren, and I do have Davy on camera this morning, and we've just stopped to admire, look and listen. And of course, impala, well, they are your number one species that you can really pay attention to, because they know what's going on. They hear all, they see all, they smell all. And they really, really will let you know if there's a threat nearby. So it's always worth checking quarantine for sounds, alarm, tracks, smells, all sorts of things. So of course I'm heading to the hyena den. I just haven't made it there yet. So before I race towards my favourite animal, I must remind you all that this is a live safari. So it's happening as you see it, and it's interactive, so you can talk to us. Please do send in all your lovely comments and questions. And to do that, you use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat, and you can also head over to the WildEarth website, register, go to the live safari page and submit your questions there. And of course, save the best till last. Kids, if you are watching, please do send in your questions via email, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So once again, it's a slightly chilly morning here. The temperatures are definitely not warm when you wake up. I think we've got a cold winter ahead of us. Can already see things changing. Subtle, but the changes are there. And talking of temperatures, let's go and take a look at the weather across all our locations today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And look at this beautiful sunrise. Absolutely stunning. Almost like a postcard, with the trees in silhouette in the front and the sun shining through all of this beautiful grass. What a fantastic way to start the morning. My name is Ross, and behind the camera today is Odie, and we're coming to you live today from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Today our plan is to head to the southern western part of the reserve. There are lots of lush open grasslands. This is teeming with animals at the moment because of all the rain, and we are going to see what we can find. Marianne, I agree wholeheartedly with you. This is a very gorgeous sunrise, and this time of year in Zululand is, in my opinion, the best time of year for sunrises because it's starting to get cooler. There's normally a little thin layer of mist that just covers the entire bush early in the morning, and as the sun shines through that mist, it makes for such a spectacular view. And it is still quite cool, but it seems like the bush is sounding quite alive today. There's lots of bird activity. There's tracks of a lot of animals that have been moving around at night, last night. So we are looking forward to another fantastic day out in the bush. So we are going to carry on and head to the grasslands of the southwest, but for now we are going to send you over to Josh at Tswalu to say hello.
Well, good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. You can see it is a rather gentle and spectacular morning. We have shell ducks serenading us, some little grebes having a swim, and BK and I decided to stop and have our morning coffee next to Chukudu Dam before we start bumbling around to see what we can find. My name's Josh and I'll be your guide. Behind the camera is BK. We hope you'll enjoy joining us on a live safari at Tswalu Kalahari. Dawn chorus is starting nicely, but these two shell ducks are rather indignant with us this morning. Hopefully they'll come in and land soon. Oh, looks like we might be in luck here. Voila. We'll give them 10 out of 10 for that effort. But it's looking a little bit cloudy this morning. Colors are, as always, stunning. But it was warm last night, which was a very pleasant surprise. Although it's just begun April, it is already getting very chilly in the early mornings and evenings here at Tswalu. So I think it's going to be a very cold winter. A little bit warmer this morning is always enjoyed. We've got crimson-breasted shrike calling in the background. We've got a drongo, sociable weavers. It's a rather large cacophony of sound, actually, but always to be enjoyed. Katie, I agree with you. The reflections on the water are stunning. And there's days where the water surface is so still, you actually, if you took a photo, you might be able to confuse people which is the reflection and which is the plant or the animal. So it is indeed stunning. Those with an artistic flair could have a lot of fun trying to recreate it. I unfortunately am not one of those. I need a ruler just to draw a stick man, so Artistic is definitely not my skill set. We're just going to have a little look here, and I'm going to ask PK to pan a bit to my left. We've got the start of sunrise coming over the Coronaberg. So the sun's definitely risen, just on our side of the mountains. It has yet to make itself known. But have a look at those stunning colors. Incredibly gorgeous light pale pinks. So, gotta love it when the clouds make our jobs a lot easier. We had a stunning sunset last night, and what looks like will be a breathtaking sunrise. But we're just gonna pan back. We've got one of our more elusive antelope on the other side of the dam joining us. He gave the ducks a fright, and they gave him a fright. So, looks like we have a young bull sable. A swart wit pensie in Afrikaans. A rather self-explanatory name. For those who don't speak Afrikaans, a black with white tummy. And you can see a very distinct antelope. So we're going to sit with our noble antelope and watch an amazing sunrise. We're going to send you across to Steve, who would like to say good morning. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the dawn. Welcome to Simbili. Hello, my name is Steve, joined by Morgan on camera, and we have just popped over to a small pan called One-Eyed Pan to see if we can find some small water chickens. Would you like to see? We just got here, so we haven't seen if there are any around yet, but they require a lot of patience and fortitude to get. Now, somewhere in amongst the very rank vegetation, we're going to find two small little lesser moorhen chicks with mum. That is the plan anyway. We've just arrived, and the last few times we've seen them took a few moments of silence, a few moments of sitting patiently. Morgan, have you ever seen a small little water chicken? No. Now, those of you who have not been watching me lately, the little water chicken is a lesser moorhen chick. It is the Afrikaans name, klein waterhoender, which translated directly is a little water chicken, which I think is quite amazing, actually. So somewhere, Morgan, in amongst that rank vegetation, find two small little black birds. We've got patience, everybody. It's all about birding. It's about getting to a watering hole with some snacks and some coffee and binoculars and a bird book, if you're not too familiar with birds, but a bird book is always a good thing to have so that you can find some of the birds that maybe you've been looking for.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far. For all of you WildEarth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully, Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
So folks, as you can see, BK and I haven't moved exactly very far. We are still sitting here waiting for the sunrise to come over the mountains. Colors are very much breathtaking. And you find BK and I just having a chat and trying to decide what we're going to do for the morning. The colors on the water are definitely a humbling thing in the fact that it just takes all need to talk away. You can just sit, stare, and kind of get lost in the moment. It's definitely a special experience being out in the bush this early in the morning. So, Beth, what is the earliest time animals go to drink? There's no specific time. Obviously, dawn and dusk are generally very busy because it's animals waking up and wanting to drink, it's animals about to sleep and wanting to drink. But remember, you also have your nocturnal species who are active throughout the night, who will drink as well. So, a lot of the species out here don't need to drink every single day, but will drink when water is easily available, and they'll drink often. You'll see we also obviously have tsama melons and that can provide moisture, but a waterhole can be busy 24/7, or it can be quiet. It also depends on whether or not there's a lot of water around. Coming into the winter months, you'll find game congregates around the one or two permanent water sources. But there's no early, there's no late. What you'll find is they are always busy, or can always be busy. Just asking BK to change our view a little bit and head towards the mountains there, where we're starting to get that golden light coming through. Always nice to have a little look at the Coronaberg. Tswalu is very much a land of contrasts between the dark red sand, the mountains, and the spectacular colors we get in the sky. It is a photographer's paradise. Never been able to decide between sunrise and sunset, which I love more. So I'll just make sure I see both. And BK having a laugh at me there. So, Lily Pan, are there any animals that live on these mountains? So, good morning. Always glad to get another question from you. There are species that live primarily on the mountains. We find our leopards are spending most of their time in the mountains. Obviously, our Hartman's mountain zebra. We have mountain reedbuck that are in the mountains. A lot of game will spend huge amounts of time there and then potentially come down and feed in the flatlands. But as to just living in the mountains, there's not always enough food up there. So they might spend a huge amount of time there and then still come down and drink or feed. So at the moment, we've had well over 2 years worth of rain this season. So there are still seepages and standing water up there. But to give you an example of game that might move through those areas, we have a female cheetah who was the subject of actually a documentary here on Tswalu, and she spent more than 70% of the time we spent with her in the mountains. So, and that's an animal you would think would spend most of its time in the flatlands and that. But to give you an idea, there's just a few species you'll find. Obviously, we do have rock hyrax, which will be in them permanently. But a lot of game traverses the mountains. I've seen hyena tracks on the top. So there's quite a lot going on in those mountains, I must say. So it seems I'm not the only one taking the morning nice and slow and staring at the water and getting lost in the moment. We're going to send you across to Steve, who's at a waterhole. Enjoy.
Yeah, so everybody, we've got two little water chickens in frame. There we go. Two little chicks of the lesser moor hen. The easiest way to find them is to watch the vegetation move. They're clambering all over the vegetation, feeding on insects and seeds, whatever they can get, really. Oh, I'm super blessed. So you see, they heard us arrive and they went a bit stationary. And now that everything is relaxed and they feel like the danger is past, they've started moving about. Now, I know that there's grass in the way and it's not the best view, but we've got them nonetheless. And already seems as if the blackness is already changing a bit to a little bit more sort of grey. There we go. Already changing colours, can you believe it? This is a good question. That sort of information isn't available in the apps, the bird books. They don't give you the ages of many of these birds. And I was surprised to find out that a hornbill, small little red or southern-bill hornbill, can live for 10 years. So I'm not certain, but I mean, it's probably many of the birds are about that same sort of age. I really don't know, though. One thing I read the other day about one of the sandpipers is the sandpiper, the green sandpiper, the wood sandpiper. The oldest they've recorded is 11. So I reckon most of these birds probably live between the ranges of 5 and 10, but I don't honestly know for certain. You know, the only way to know would be to catch them, ring them, and then count them consecutive years afterwards. Which I'm sure there is a lot of science that's going into that sort of stuff, but it's very difficult to do on a large scale. But a very good question. Very good question. If anybody is able to tell me how long a moor hen can live for, obviously we talk about in the wild. 5 to 6 weeks to reach maturity. We've still got them there. Kind of lost them. I think if I push back, I think they're going to run. I still just see them with my eyes. Okay, everyone, well, we're going to try and get a better view of our little water chickens while we go over to Nikki to say good morning.
A warm welcome to all our viewers. We're here at andBeyond in Ngala, and you can see how these two jackal have moved into the sun just to warm themselves. It's such a beautiful morning, and you can also see the golden colors on the grass. So I'm Nikki, I'm going to be your ranger for this morning, and on camera we have Mpo. So this morning we actually drove into this area looking out for lions, so the lions with the 3 young cubs that we saw yesterday. And on our way here, of course, we found these jackal. Now the one has just gotten up now. And you can see just scratching the side of the neck area now. And we're hoping that possibly the lions could be in this area. Maybe that's also why the jackal are here. But I must say it's one of my favorite animals to look and just to see what they're up to in the day. It looks like this one's belly's quite full. Maybe they had a meal during the evening. Possibly that those lions are around somewhere. So hopefully we can find them this morning. Often when the jackal move like this, you'll see, look at those ears and the way they're looking around, probably looking to flush any possible rodent from the grass. Even though that belly is full, they'll never miss out on an opportunity to grab another meal. And the other one is still lying down in the road, just enjoying that sun. And if you notice the features of this one, you'll notice there's a lot of white on the chin, this brown on the side of the body with the whitish black stripe, and a bit of a grey tinge to the back. So this is the black-backed jackal. See, this one on the road has just picked up his head. And it might be that this could be a male and female together, because they do form a pair bond that will stick together for life. There you go. With jackal, they're not that hard to find. It depends, because mainly they are nocturnal animals. So in other words, they do come out during the evening. We just sometimes find, like especially in these reserves where they are protected, you'll find that they do come out more during the day. And I won't say they're easy to find, but they're more regular to find than, because as we mentioned, in some areas, if there's a lot of predators around, you might find that they move mainly during the evening. But of course, these ones, you're very lucky to find them early part of the morning being out and about. If they do decide to go and settle down in the shade or move off, we'll carry on with our lion search now. The last tracks we had of the lions is not too far from where they are right now, and I wonder, maybe because of the lions being in the area, of course, as we mentioned, that these jackal are also here. But for now, it looks like they're on the move. Possibly either going to find a nice patch of shade for the day to rest up for the day, because it might be a warm day, or even looking out for any opportunities like a rodent. But in the meantime, while we enjoy the last little bit of these jackal before we carry on, let's head across to Tswalu.
So a little bit of a long distance sight, but we've just got some bat-eared foxes. Now, always a shy animal, especially in daylight. This is a family of 6, of which we can only see 1 at the moment. The rest have moved off, but we've stopped quite far away from them just to let them carry on with their normal behavior. So as you can see, this one's foraging. And it's always nice to see these little guys. Very cute. There's another one joining in the party. Oh, there's number 3. Quite a nice little family group. So we are staying a little further away. We don't want them running, but oh, there. Looks like they scared each other. We are going to try and move a little bit closer, folks, but they are a very shy animal. So it's safe to say, I think, that these bat-eared foxes would have spent most of the night foraging. We've got one on the road there. See if BK can't get us in. Just don't want to chase them away, so I'm hanging back quite far. But look at those big ears. Any movement of an insect and he's going to catch it. So they keep popping in and out of our frame. We're just going to keep adjusting. Always special having some time with them. Nice open patch here. Do wonder what this little one has found. Nice little pose there for us. They're looking very poofy this morning. It's quite entertaining. So all their hair is standing on end and they're looking a lot bigger than they really are. This is a behavior called phylloerection. It's a way of trapping an air layer between the top of the hair follicle and the skin, almost like a blanket to stay warm. So we're going to try to get a little closer again. But if they do scatter, at least we got to share one of our special but small characters of the show here at Tswalu. I'm going to go very slowly. I can still see 1 or 2 in the vegetation, but it is getting, our grass is getting a bit taller here. It's that sour grass we spoke about yesterday. So we're going to see what this bat-eared fox family gets up to, and we're going to send you across to Mike, Pridelands, who wants to say good morning. Enjoy.
So it's a beautiful morning, absolutely quiet, peaceful and still. We are a little bit later this morning. Sorry about that, everyone. We had to walk out to this gorgeous area just to do a bit of work in a place we haven't been before. My name is Michael Anderson. Behind the camera, we've got Johan, and you're joining us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. As I said, this is an area we've not really walked in before, or certainly not on the show. So it'll be quite nice to see what's around. And in fact, when we arrived here, we realized that this mud wallow has been recently used. As you can see, a lot of churned up mud on the edges here. This place is called Leopards, and it's more or less in the center of Pridelands. And there's something else which was really awesome that we found as we got here. So I saw this log over here, and I wondered, it looks like it's been freshly used. So you can see there's mud all over here, some dry mud, then it gets wetter and wetter and wetter. And then I noticed these. There's some tracks here, some beautiful, looks like tracks of a genet. Now it almost looks like it was climbing up here and it got to this patch here and got really muddy. And so genets don't usually show their claws. It's a small spotted feline-like animal that usually hunts around thickets and bushes and can climb trees really well. You can see that it doesn't usually show claws, but this one definitely has its claw mark showing because it was slipping in this mud, and you can see it slipped there. And then from here, I believe that this genet jumped, because the next track that I see is all the way up here on this piece of mud right here. So I think this genet was probably moving up here last night or early this morning, maybe looking for some last hunting opportunities. Often they look inside grassy thickets like this because what they hunt mostly is for small rodents. And a little grassy patch like that is the perfect place for little rodents to go and hide. This was created by an elephant that pushed this Vachelia over, and in doing so it's created this little protected environment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be moving around this area, looking for whatever small interesting signs we can see. We know there's fresh elephant signs here, so we know there's elephants around. And we've heard some calling, and Ndlovu Dam is just down that direction about a kilometer or so. We know there's elephants at the dam now. We can hear them. So hopefully they're going to come up this way, and we might get some awesome views of some elephants too. But generally just going to walk around this area and see what we can find. Wish us luck, and we'll keep you up to date.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome back to One-Eyed Pan. We've got our two very busy little lesser moorhen chicks. Oh, so cute. I haven't seen Mum. Last time I was here as well, we just saw these chicks. Look at that, isn't it like a little dinosaur? So bizarre that they've got the largest feet. It helps them to climb, helps them to push that vegetation down and to walk on sort of a floating vegetation as well. Perfect habitat for these two. I wonder if you can hear the little contact calls. This is probably going to be one of my coolest finds here in this area.
Yeah, let's come.
Maria snakes, monitor lizards, birds of prey, crocodiles, genets. So by being where they are, they're in a very difficult area to actually access. So they're probably quite vulnerable if they're still in the nest and as eggs. But while they're able to move about like this, they're able to do quite a bit of swimming, quite a bit of running. They're not really, as far as I could tell, able to fly yet. They're definitely able to move quite quickly if needs must. So this kind of habitat sort of preference along these sort of water margins is a difficult place for many predators to access. If you're a non-moving bird, then of course you're much at risk from predation. But if you're able to move about, you're able to escape many of the predators. Snakes aren't actually that quick, so they'll be able to move away. Monitor lizards as well. I suppose they are quick, but these birds are able to get away from them. So it's a very, very interesting habitat that obviously the evolution of that large foot to enable them to swim and to walk on the mud puts them in an area where there generally isn't too much in the way of predation. Obviously crocodiles. But many of these birds seem to coexist quite well with crocodiles. we go. On the left there, he's out in the open. Up, 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 up. Up, up, up. Sorry. There you go. Mold, how cool is it spending time with them? I get very excited. Sorry about the shadow now that we're casting. It was out in the open for just the briefest of seconds. Now it's behind a little bit more vegetation. Hopefully come out again for us. Now let's see if we can get a good look at those feet. Come on, show us how big your feet are. Ah, such big feet. You see, they haven't really developed any real feathers yet. It's all still down. No flight feathers, no tail feathers. How wonderful is that, everybody? Now, I don't know if we've ever had these on the show before. Maybe some of our long-standing viewers can tell us. It's definitely one of the most exciting things I've seen. I'm easily pleased, yes, if that's what you're thinking. But only seen a handful, as I said, of the adults in my life. Oh, there's another one is just in the open over here now. Well, which one is the easiest to see? Can you see him? He's always going into the thicket again. Sorry, Morgan, I'm making you move. Back into the thickets. While our other little water chicken moves over that side. He's actually out in the open again, so whichever one you feel is better. I think the one in front of us is maybe better again. Maybe again over there. Sorry, Morgan. He's just in front of that little battler. You want to know if they use communal nests? No. Basically, they'll fold just a bit more up. And there he is. They will fold that vegetation down into sort of a cup. They'll bend vegetation around, so those sort of bits of grass that you see sitting in the water, they actually just fashion that into a little cup nest. Oh my goodness, he's right here. I want to go catch him, but I won't. I want to. I just want to see those feet. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy. This is well worth the wait. So it would be one male and one female that does the nest. There is potential for there to be more than one female using a nest, apparently. And up to 10 eggs can be laid. Nests usually well spaced apart with a breeding density of about 1 to 2 pairs per hectare. So the nest is a shallow grass cup built on a platform of bent over live grass or sedge segments. So when they're newly hatched, they are covered with black down except for bare reddish brown spot on the crown. So these fellas are very fresh. Very, very fresh. You see there's no feathers on them, all still downy. But interesting how they're able to move around so quickly. Just over a month of fledgling. You see that climbing ability. They do, Angie. They do. You can imagine how many we go past when we don't spend time looking at these very specific habitat edges on these watercourses. I mean, this is a small little pan. It's most likely it's only the one breeding pair that's here. Okay, Ron, well, we're going to probably stay here for a moment longer. Why not?
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Cheetah. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with WildEarth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Cheetah's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, WildEarth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
What a beautiful creature to find in the morning. I think this is a golden orb web spider. It's quite small though. Believe it or not, she probably looks monstrous on your screen, but she's actually quite small for a golden. She's just glinting away. And believe it or not, they are completely, I don't think camouflage is the right word, but they blend in completely to the background. You see, Oh, nice work, Dravi. It's actually the web, the golden hues of the web that you see when you're driving. And then you know somewhere in the vicinity she's going to be sitting. It's never actually the spider, well, that I see anyway. And of course, that's why they're called the golden orbs, because of the golden silk. And silk in general is made from two prominent amino acids, and it's glycine and alanine. They are the two main amino acids that you will find in the silk. And of course, amino acids are your building blocks of protein. That's how they produce their silk. And it's just incredibly strong. Yes, to a human, we could probably go and chop it up. But if you're a small little insect, you're in big trouble. Not only is it strong, it's also extremely resilient. It can stretch up to 30 times longer than its original length. So this means that because it can stretch and it's got that leeway, that the web itself can catch bigger prey. Anything that flies into it, there's a bit of give. It's not so hard and brittle that it's going to snap. There's a lot of stretch there. There's a lot of leeway to catch bigger items of prey. And depending on the silk and its function, the spider itself can actually change the thickness and the stickiness. Okay, we're going to keep bumbling around the south, see what we can find, and for now, over to Pridelands.
So we have got something really cool. We've got a tiny baby giraffe and two other females and a zebra as well, which is awesome. Don't often get to be this close to zebras and giraffe on foot because they're quite alert animals, zebras. They'll often run as soon as they sense danger. And although we're not dangerous to them, they know that we are potentially dangerous, so they will usually run away from us. But the wind gave our position away, but the sun is directly behind us, so they can't really see us, but they can certainly hear us and smell us. So they're starting to move away now. But that giraffe is so tiny. I think it's the same one we saw yesterday on our way back from the walk, and it has an umbilical cord still showing, which in this time of year with this long grass and all this thick vegetation, they'll probably fall off after about 2 weeks. So I reckon that baby giraffe is only about 2 weeks old. Now you might be wondering, why are the zebras there with the giraffes? And the reason being is that the zebras want to be close to the giraffes because the giraffes are very tall. They'll spot danger usually way before the zebras do. So it's just safety in numbers. And there's no competition happening there. Well, there they go. The last of them moving off. We're not going to have a visual of them anymore. If we try to follow them, they'll almost certainly run away from us. Well, that was nice. It was wonderful to actually try and get closer to them because they're so curious, giraffes. They'll often come and try and, sneak a peek at whatever is moving behind the bushes. But they're gone now. So we're going to keep moving off. There's a nice game path in front of us that we'll follow. That probably takes us between Leeupan and Ndlovu itself. So what we'll do is we'll start to make our way down here. Oh, there's a cool butterfly. I don't know if you can see that. Just over there. Be very difficult to spot it. There's a really awesome little black-winged butterfly. I'm not sure what exactly the species is. Oh, there it goes. Bye-bye, butterfly. So whilst we head down this game path, we'll send you over to Steve, who's on a bit of a bumble.
Thanks, Mike. Good luck out there. Enjoy. We've moved on from our spectacular morning with little water chickens. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and if you didn't, I'm terribly sorry, but it was very enjoyable. Morgan, you enjoyed that too, didn't you?
Yep.
Blessed. We are so blessed. I even managed to get a couple of snaps. Yes, we all enjoyed it. What's not to enjoy? Little water chickens with big feet. Now, they won't grow into those feet, everybody. Those feet will always be big. They sometimes say, look at this dog. He's going to grow into them. Those birds won't. They will grow, of course, but so will their feet. What a lovely adaptation. So we're just on Simbili now, having a little look. Just do a little around and then come back again onto Djuma. Feeling quite fulfilled this morning.
Apologies about that. Don't quite know what happened to Steve. I put my jacket back on. It's rather chilly. Now, Tandy and Cub are on Torchwood. Yay! Why do I keep saying Cub? His name is Mareebs. Sorry. But Torchwood is full right now in terms of vehicle space. So we're just sort of hanging around the periphery and hopefully we'll get some space and get some signal and we'll be able to spend some time with Tandy and her little one, who's really not so little anymore. He's getting big. And of course, he's now over 1. He was also found around the same time as Ngwazi and Shimbulu, and that's March. March is the month of birthdays. So he's really getting bigger and older, but he'll still stay with Mum for quite some time. They'll spend a lot of time apart, but he'll still be around Tandy's territory for at least another year or so. So I really hope we can get in and spend some time with them. Gauri means being busy. Shasha and Langa were actually on Djuma this morning, but we arrived a little bit too late, I'm afraid. And they headed down south in the Mobati. So they're on Little Gauri, but that's good news. Shasha seems to be spending a lot of time on Djuma. Is that a slender, Davi? Or am I... Is it a slender? I think it is. Yes! You have no idea how difficult it is to get them on camera. Good morning. A slender mongoose. A lot bigger and longer and, well, you guessed it, slender than a dwarf mongoose. And we see them all the time here. But unfortunately, we just never get them on camera. Oh, not never, that's not true, but they're just very, very difficult. They're sort of flee as soon as they see the car, or maybe they just really don't like the camera. The more common ones we see here naturally are the dwarf mongoose. The slenders are... Out here, they're actually not so gingery red, to be honest, but the slender mongoose you get in Tswalu, they're very, very red in colour. That's most likely due to the environment and the sand, but they've also got a reddish tinge out here as well. Are you going to cross the road? You're thinking about it, aren't you? I think this is the stillest sighting I have ever had. Keith, you get a lot of mongoose species. The most common ones you get out here, at least, are definitely the dwarf mongoose. And I would say on some level, they're actually quite habituated to vehicles, if that makes sense. And you get the white-tailed, which is completely nocturnal, so you will only really see that once the sun goes down. Davi's trying to point something out to me. I don't know what it is. What are we looking at, Dav?
A bird.
A bird. It's flown off. And banded, we sometimes get the banded here. We used to see them a lot in the Masai Mara, but I've never actually seen the banded here, but you do get them. You also get marsh mongoose, millers. I think James and Davi had a wonderful sighting with a miller's mongoose here. You get yellow, bushy-tailed. There's actually a lot of species. I think there's 12 different species, but you don't all find them in the low veld. But the slender, you have no idea how often I have tried to get a slender on camera, and it's just, they're off before you know it. So we've obviously stopped the car quite far away, which is, it's a good thing. And this individual is clearly unsure about crossing the road. We should make a joke. Why did the mongoose cross the road, Davi?
We should.
Yeah, I think we'll go with to get to the other side. We'll go with that one. Wow, I can't believe this. It'd be lovely if it just stepped out so we could see the tail. Okay, we're going to sit here and watch this little slender hopefully cross the road, and for now we're going to send you back across to Mike.
Lots and lots of knobthorn trees in this area, and that has brought all the giraffes. So there's 3 more giraffes in front of us spread about. This is a female. Now, of course, as we put her on camera, she gets shy and wants to disappear. It's probably because of the sound of my voice, to be honest. But there's a baby, there's a whole bunch of other giraffes, and in the background there you can see the beautiful Drakensberg Mountains, the northern Drakensberg escarpment, and that you can see there is the highest point of the Drakensbergs here in this part of South Africa. It's Mariepskop, just under 2,000 meters, 1,930 meters above sea levels. That's phenomenally tall. We're sitting at about 400 meters above sea level right here. That means that that mountain in a straight line is 1.5 kilometers straight up from where we are. Oh, there's a small plane flying over us. It's often doing census in the area with all these Greater Kruger National Park reserves in the area. Just the giraffes are loving this place, probably because of the little bit of water that's at Leopan, and because of all the knobthorn trees in the area. That's really one of their absolute favorite foods. Interestingly, that one giraffe was looking past us, so I wonder if there's not something behind us that we can still see, that they can still see. Lucy, it is lovely to see giraffes on bushwalk, and we've just stumbled across quite a big group of them. Now remember, giraffes are not necessarily herd animals. They don't have a strict social grouping or social structure. It's more of a loose association, so you'll sometimes see them together, sometimes not. But in more likeliness, these giraffes are together because there's some babies. We've seen at least 3 very young giraffes in this area on Pridelands, and so they're most likely all sticking around together because safety in numbers. Giraffes like to make nursery herds, which is really important for their safety, and they'll come to areas like this. You see, it's fairly open around here, so it's a good place for a giraffe mother or giraffe mothers to associate. Plenty of food, nice soft open grassy area for them to lie on. The mothers will stand up and watch, the babies can lie down, and these big trees that you can see around us, these knobthorns, they'll create beautiful shade at certain times of the year, well, certain times of the day, which will be perfect for the babies to rest in. They won't have as much energy. But Lucy, you should come and join us, actually, on the next bushwalk, Lucy, and we'll show you giraffes on foot in person, which is even better. Man, oh man. No, you never know what to expect. Every morning we go out on bushwalk, and we never know what's quite going to happen. But every day it just wows us. It's like better and better. We get very fresh signs of buffaloes and elephants in Liupan, so maybe bump into some of those as well. So you can see there, Johan's just showing you what kind of area we're standing in right now. And there's a bit of a game path right in front of us over here, which just goes through the grass. You can see straight down, still heading us towards Ndlovu Dam. Animals tend to use these pathways to go from different areas to others. So from like the dam to the pan to the grassy areas. So it's really, really cool. It's also a good time to just stop and listen for a moment. Don't know if you can hear that there's a bearded woodpecker or some sort of woodpecker just tapping in the tree right above us. Oh, Shiraz. My goodness. I've no idea. I would just expect that they have very strong hind legs because they're very long. They must have a huge muscular rump to be able to kick with those legs. I mean, I know that their kicks can be deadly to predators like lions, Shiraz. And they can kick in any direction. They can kick backwards, forwards, sideways. And although they look like they're always moving in slow motion, I can assure you they can run almost as fast as a zebra at full pace, which is probably about 70 kilometers per hour, maybe even faster. So it's really fast. And yes, I've seen videos. There's a really awesome BBC documentary. I can't remember what it's called now, but there's this video of a lion trying to crab a zebra in Namibia. And this, not a zebra, sorry, a giraffe. And the giraffe just absolutely crunches it, just runs it over like it's a fly, swatting it out the way. It's amazing to witness. Never seen lions hunting giraffe. Seen them eating giraffe lots of times. Never seen them hunting them. Stalking once in a while. So there's giraffe still just watching us, chewing away at the cud there. They always look so content. And when you're an animal that big, with such powerful defensive mechanisms, there's not really much that you need to be worried about. All right, well, whilst we navigate our way through these giraffes without bothering them too much, we'll send you over to Phinda.
Well, welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. And look what we have been incredibly lucky to find this morning. A female cheetah and her cub, and it looks like in the early hours of the morning they killed an impala and they're just starting to finish off feeding on it. The last bits of scraps of meat. Amazing. They're literally trying to get those last shreds of meat from the inside of the skin. And look how that cub is doing. He's using the side of his teeth, or the teeth on the side of his mouth. The cub is the smaller one on the right, with a lot of fluff behind his neck. He's quite an older cub. I'd say he's about a year, just over a year old. But you can still see that he's a youngster. And what he's doing is using the teeth on the side of his mouth, which are his incisors, or actually, sorry, his molars, that have been sort of modified in the shape of shears. So he's using them to slice meat off. They're very, very sharp. But there's not a lot of meat left on this carcass. And I think they've probably been feeding here for probably two and a half hours. That's about how long it takes for two cheetah to eat an impala like this. It looks like a female impala, maybe a younger female. but there's a lot of meat in their bellies. Look at the mom. You can see her belly sagging with weight there. And look at her paws. She's still got blood all over her paws. So Paul, you've asked if there's any part of the impala that the cheetah won't eat. And certainly yes, there is some parts that they won't touch and some that they just simply can't eat because their teeth aren't adapted to, or they're not strong enough to eat. So they can't eat the bones and the skin because they are way too tough. And cheetah's teeth are quite small, they're being a small predator. So they'll focus on more the tender, softer muscle and flesh. But they'll also be very, very careful not to touch the stomach contents and some of the organs that will smell a lot worse if opened up, because they don't want to attract any attention to themselves while they feed, because cheetah when they feed are very, very vulnerable to other predators. So they'll eat very neatly around the carcass. Only the softer meat, leave the bones, and it looks like they have actually finished this carcass, and what they've left is just the bones, skin and entrails, just like we've been discussing. And now what they've done is they've moved slightly further off to some shade to rest, because it's been very taxing eating so much so quickly, and also after a long chase or maybe a short chase, but a lot of energy expended. They'll be very, very tired. And we mentioned that she's got some blood on her feet still. I think she'll try and clean that off of her feet and blood off of her face as quickly as she can, so that she doesn't have any scent of a carcass on her, because she doesn't want to be attracting any unwanted attention. So hyenas are very well known to be able to sniff out carcasses very soon. They've got good noses. So do leopards and lions, and they don't want those lions to smell them. That's the most dangerous part for them now. So look at them grooming each other, actually grooming each other, not just themselves. They help each other, and that also serves to strengthen the bond between them. They might also lick their paws because they've been standing quite close to that carcass, maybe in the pool of blood. Safari Detective, it is so nice to see these cheetahs happy and hunting and healthy with full bellies. And it might have been a few days since they've hunted last. Because cheetahs don't hunt every day, they hunt maybe every 2 or 3 days, sometimes even 4 or 5. But now they've had a huge meal, their tummies are full, and they won't need to worry about hunting again for the next couple of days. Right now they'll just concentrate on finding some shade, because it's going to get very hot, and just keeping a close watch out for predators while they digest their very well-earned meal. You see now, even as they sit there, their heads are up. They're not lying down flat with their heads on the floor. They're still just looking around them, making sure there's nothing, no dangers approaching. They do keep looking over their shoulder, because there's a herd of zebra and wildebeest that have just seen them and are alarm calling at them. If you see where Odie is going to point now, those are the zebra that have seen the cheetah, and they're just a little bit nervous of those cheetah being so close to them. They're making sure that they've got a good eye on them, and they're alarm calling to let all the animals know in the area that there's predators around and that they need to be slightly more watchful. What a fantastic scene. And so this, as you can see, is an airstrip. It's the only tarred piece of road on the entire reserve. This is where sometimes planes come to land on Phinda. And because the sides of the airstrip are mowed quite short, it attracts lots of animals and birds, actually. Lots of grazing animals, because there's lots of open grassland here next to the airstrip. And animals tend to feel safer when it's open like this and there's no long grass, because they can see predators coming. But that might be a false sense of security, because as we've seen, at least one poor impala has met its end this morning on the airstrip. So even though animals come here for safety, the cheetah also really like to hunt here because it suits their hunting style incredibly well. Look at this carcass as well. So just like we were saying, you can see the pieces of leg bone, and the meat has been eaten as much as it can be, and a little bit of, or all of the skin the cheetahs can't chew and can't digest. But then off to the left, there's also the big stomach, which would contain all of the impala's food, which the cheetahs did not want to touch. They didn't want to open up that stomach because it would be a really huge, powerful scent that could attract lots of predators. So they've left it, they've eaten around it, and now they've gone off to lie down. There's actually a herd of impala that's just walked off, that's attracted these cheetahs' attention, walked into the open here, very close to them, but I don't think they're interested in impala anymore. They've eaten so much, they're not even going to bother trying to hunt them. But we're going to spend
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a WildEarth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
So what we did as we were walking through here, I just noticed just how gorgeous all these different grasses look. And it got me to thinking about what we do at home And I made you all a beautiful little bouquet out of some of the grasses we find here. Now, these are some spectacular grasses. We've got blue seed grass, some Natal redtop, and what I suspect is a type of thereon. I'm not sure which type of thereon, but it just makes a beautiful bouquet, doesn't it? And it got me thinking, at home, we like everything to be really homogenized. We just like a single grass, and we mow it nice and short and make it look pretty and organized and neat. And that is, it has its benefits for a variety of reasons. But if you just look at these grasses in front of us right now, there are so many different shapes, and each one of these grasses fulfills a very important role in the ecosystem, from food for birds to food for insects, homes for different creatures. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to think how many different species there are. I mean, standing where we are right now, there must be more than a dozen different species of grasses all around us. We've got blue seed grass, we've got the buffalo grasses, there are all these other tall, spiky looking grasses. These are this one right here in front of us here. This is one of the turpentine grasses. All of them fulfilling very specific roles, and even in human cultures being able to be used for a number of different things. And so what I always like to think is, if I have a garden one day, I'd like to keep one section of the garden just to grow completely naturally, and you'd be amazed to see how it turns out. You might be actually pleasantly surprised. And I mean, think about all the insects. I mean, we saw butterflies just a moment ago coming to land in these grasses. Some of the Natal redtops maybe having a little bit of some pollen or something that they like to feed on. So it's really, really important to let nature be nature. Remember, protection of biodiversity, number of different species in an area, is what's really important. Look at all these gorgeous grasses. Sometimes just walking through the grass brings me so much joy, actually. When you just look at all the different species, all the different shapes. Tommy, this grass will dry out. And if you see this year how much there is, Tommy, there's a lot of grass because we've had a ton of rain. We've had about 2 to 3 times more rain this year than we should actually have in any normal year, which is great for us because we just went through a bit of a drought. So what I suspect, Tommy, is that this year we might find ourselves in a bit of trouble with fires, probably towards the October, November time when lightning starts. All this stuff will be very, very dry, and any lightning strikes can cause a big fire. So what we tend to do in many of these smaller reserves is the reserve management team will come up with a strategy of burning small areas of land to reduce the fuel load and increase biodiversity. Because all of this grass also, if it lays too long dead, and let's say next year it grows again, it creates a layer which light cannot penetrate through, and so you'll find other grasses and other plants cannot grow through it. So Tommy, we don't cut it, but in many places they do burn some of this grass, but in a way that's what they call mosaic burning. You don't just burn the whole place, because then you leave nothing for the animals to feed on. And so you create a fire break by clearing a small patch of roads, and then you burn inside that little patch, giving a nice slow fire that's able to allow animals to move out the way. Fire is a natural thing in environments. We've actually stopped most of the fires from burning in the protected areas in southern Africa because, of course, it looks nice when it's green. But fire is a natural part of ecosystems, especially the savanna. It's actually what stops the trees from dominating these grassy areas. If we didn't have fires ever, there would just be shrubs and trees everywhere, and you can already see that it's quite thick around here with lots of shrubs and trees. So it's definitely the kind of place where we need to have a fire every few years. Between 5 to 10 years, there should be a fire that goes through here just to keep these shrubs from taking over, which is really cool. I'm always fascinated by fire. I used to have a friend when I was growing up in Zimbabwe who used to say, fire is a great servant, but a terrible master. So certainly fire is a useful tool, but if you don't manage it well and look and be careful with it, it can cause major problems. And in fact, fires cause problems every year in South Africa as well. They get out of control and damage huge areas of bushveld. Now the wind blows and you can see this golden grass fluttering in the wind. It's starting to get dry. It's amazing. In just the short time since we've had just the short time since I've been here on Pridelands, I've seen the grass turn from deep green, like really luscious green, to this sort of golden color, and it's actually beautiful now. And in another 2 weeks, if it keeps drying out as it is with this consistent wind and this warm temperatures during the day, we're going to find the grass all turning very dry. Oh, I'm being tickled in my face by my bouquet. I might need to move that down just a little bit. Oh. I don't know if you heard that. There's an elephant. So, in Dam, still down in that direction, and we're still on our way there. So hopefully we'll get to the dam before the elephants move off. But in the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Josh at Tswalu.
Well, folks, we've left the west and we're heading east. We're following up on a rumor of something special. We're going looking for the king himself, or maybe the queen, who knows. But you find us bumbling along in the east, in the Lechaba section of Tswalu, and it is a spectacular morning. It's nice and warm. It was a little chilly, but hopefully this long grass does not hide those special animals we're trying to find. As you can tell, we've definitely had some seriously good rain. Colors this morning are beautiful. So yeah, it's a terrible morning to be in the bush, but someone's got to do it. So I'll volunteer. We'll hopefully be where we're heading fairly soon and be able to get an idea of what's in store for us. Always special to go from the little guys and every now and then try and find one of the big ones. I believe you Mike, and he's gone looking for some elephants. Always a special sighting, the biggest of them all. So what we're looking for, or hoping to see, has a slightly different makeup. It has slightly sharper teeth. Funny, I'm talking about things with sharp teeth. We've just had a question from Maria, and the question was, are there any crocodiles at Tswalu? Maria, there are no crocodiles at Tswalu, and there are also no hippos. We are in an incredibly arid region. We have no flowing rivers through the property, even though it is almost 1,200 square kilometers. And we just don't have big enough waterholes to sustain them. So no croc, no hippo here at Tswalu. Lovely, beautiful sky. Always particularly love the landscape here on our eastern side because it is very mountainous. You have huge open regions, little waterholes hidden here and there, which make for spectacular birding, but also just these huge contrasting landscapes. You know, where we are now, this looks like a very open woodland, and then there's these mountains. So we're going to carry on looking for these animals with their sharp teeth, and hopefully we'll be able to share it with you. But for now, we're going to send you across to Phinda, who has a very fast cat they want to show you. Enjoy.
Alright, so there's lots of action happening here at andBeyond Phinda. These cheetahs are still sitting very, very, very still, lying down, digesting their meal, but this herd of zebra is actually getting very, very close to them, and the one stallion in the herd doesn't look like he's appreciating these cheetahs' presence on this airstrip at all. they might actually chase them. I have seen cheetah being chased by zebra before, because zebra, although for adult zebra, cheetahs aren't much of a danger, for a young calf, and there is a young calf in this herd, they are quite dangerous, or they're quite a serious threat towards. So that's probably why these zebra don't want anything to do with them, and they want to chase them away from the open areas. But at the moment, it seems like they've decided to just walk past. And herbivores, when they see animals like cheetah or predators, they actually would prefer to see them rather than to run away and then not be able to see where they are. Because if they see the danger, they know where the danger is. And if then the predators come towards them or try to chase them, they are aware of that fact. If they can't see the predators, they know they're there, but they can't see them, they're a lot more nervous. And that's a little bit more unsettling for them. So that's why they're sticking around a bit. Maybe they're hoping the cheetah will move off. But the cheetah could not be less interested in them. They're full and happy. And if you have a look around the mother cheetah, who's on the left, if you have a look around her mouth, she's already cleaned all the blood off. And she's clean, happy to sort of relax for the rest of the day without any fear of that smell permeating through the bush of blood on her. There's actually a plane that's just landed on this airstrip, and there's a herd of wildebeest that's running past. So Ned, that's a good question. This cheetah's about 1, and he's going to be with his mother for probably another 6 months to a year, actually, before he leaves and goes off on his own. When he goes off on his own, he's definitely going to be able to hunt for himself. Look how he's looking at these wildebeest now. But he'll start to join his mother hunting from probably about now. I think he might have even helped to hunt this impala, because he has spent a year watching and learning from them, from his mom. He's now quite big, so he's powerful enough to keep up with an impala, and help in bringing it down and tripping it. So he could even be joining in on his mother's hunt now, but he wouldn't be hunting alone yet. That'll probably come much later, probably in about 6 months' time. And now all these animals, look how close they're coming, and they're actually giving this cub a bit of a fright. He's not loving now because there's so many of them. It's a little bit intimidating for him. So Gregory, that's a good question. How do cheetah kill their prey? What they'll do is, you see how he's going to his mother for a bit of love, reassurance. So how they kill their prey is they will see it spotted from far away, and then try and get as close as they can to it by using camouflage and by stalking through the long grass or the short grass, but using cover. And then the last little distance between them and their prey, they will use their extremely high acceleration to get to it and chase it. If it's a longer chase, they'll use their very long tails to be able to keep up with it. They're very agile. They can change direction quickly with their long tails, and they will chase it down. And with their paws, their front paws, they will trip the back legs of it so that it trips and comes to the ground, and then they'll jump on top of it. They actually don't have very sharp claws because their claws are always kept out. They don't retract their claws, so their claws are quite blunt. So they don't actually grab the animal on its back legs, they actually trip it. And then once it's tripped and on the floor, they'll pounce on top of it and grab it by the neck and suffocate it. So that's how they kill their prey. But this interaction is very exciting. It seems like these wildebeest and zebra are going to move off now after they've made these cheetah very aware that they don't like their presence here. But for now, we're going to send you over to Josh, who has managed to catch up with some predators.
Folks, we have hit the jackpot. We have found part of our southern pride here at Prrivate waterhole, and we have lion cubs everywhere. We've got 4 little ones, 4 older ones, and they are spread out over a good 150 meters or so. But there is nothing quite like watching lion cubs play. So the slightly older cousins were picking on the little ones, and Mom decided to get involved there very quickly. But for those who like a stunning reflection, there you go. One of our slightly older cubs found a rock to play with. But these little guys, however, are the winner for me. There's a lot of alarm calling going on behind us. Zebra and impala and wildebeest well aware of the fact that the big cats are here. Watch this one playing. Not quite sure what's going on. But it does not get much better than this. I'd love to tell you about the vocalizations we're hearing from these cubs. There's a lot of growling and complaining and all sorts going on in the background. Then you've got the natural curiosity of a cat here. It's like, can't quite decide what's going on. Stunning, stunning, stunning. So although lions get most of their moisture from their food, they will always drink if it's available. So Jacqueline, to answer your question, so these little ones will only have joined the pride in the last probably 2 weeks. They are tiny, tiny, tiny. So, born altricial, which means their eyes are closed and they're completely hopeless for the first few weeks of their lives because predators can't afford a long pregnancy. So, they'll have been stashed in a cave or a bush or something for the last few weeks until they grew a little bit bigger and their eyes lost that blue film, and then they'll have been introduced to the pride. But as you can see, playful as only youngsters can be. Yeah, this little one's decided he wants to take his cousin on. So these little ones still at that point where they can easily be hurt by their older cousins or other cubs, but see how quickly Mom gets involved there. So not going to let anything happen. And that's the 3rd or the 4th time we've seen her intervene in the last few minutes. The little ones want to play with the big guys, but they're still at that size where they can be injured. So Mom's just going to make sure everything stays straight and narrow. But they keep getting their paws in the mud and touching the water, and they're not quite sure if they like it or don't like it. A lot going on. Definitely a cat though. There's a lot of lions here. Folks, we're going to be sending you across to Mike. There's something cool to share with you. I'm going to sit right here and spend as much time as I can with the newest generation of big predators at Tswalu. Enjoy.
So it is something cool, a little bit scary to be honest. So we just came to this fallen tree, and this is not the real reason why we came here, but I saw this funnel web, spider web, and I tried to just take my little wand, and I just tickled it on the edge here, and this spider came out at a hectic speed and gave me the biggest fright. Actually leapt off the tree. But I think after it noticed that it was just a stick and not an actual insect stuck on its web, it decided to go back in, and I don't want to disturb it anymore. But my goodness, for those of you who've been watching for a while, you'll know that I don't mind spiders there, but if they come to me, I get a huge fright. So I actually leapt off this tree. It was almost straight onto Johan. But anyway, the reason why we came here is to show you this tree here. Now, this tree has been pushed over probably by an elephant. It's a cork wood, which is a very soft tree. In fact, so soft that its wood actually reminds you of cork. This is very soft, very light. I mean, it's one of the least dense woods in the bush. And it's great for making fires. In fact, we have been tasked with collecting a small piece of this to create a base plate. So we can see if we can make a base plate for Steve. Steve wanted us to collect one. But in the meantime, I want to show you. So just down here, the reason why this tree was able to be pushed over by an elephant is down there. It looks like something damaged the bark and exposed the heartwood. And then termites started to eat all the way up this tree. And they actually ate all the way up in this tree, up to here. This is the inside of the tree, the heartwood of most trees is actually dead. It's no longer living. It's just there for structure. It gives this tree rigidity. And now that's all been eaten, which made it very soft and very weak. And then elephants were able to push against it with not too much hassle, and the whole tree came tumbling down. But now what's really cool about this is that not only can we now see how this tree degrades, being a softwood, how long does it take for it to completely decompose, because it's still a bit green. When I poked my knife into it, I could see that the layer under the bark is still alive. But if we come over here, you can see the layer of the soft outer wood, then the dark layer of the heartwood, which is slightly harder but not incredibly hard, and then just on the outside, look at this thin layer of the bark. I don't know if you can see that. So there you can see a little bit of the gum, which is what is transporting nutrients up and down. It's what a lot of insects and animals feed on. A really thin layer of living material, which is impervious to termites. Termites won't go through this living material. And then on the outside here, fire-resistant outer bark, which is able to protect this tree from fire and from dehydration. So that's really, really important that this doesn't get damaged, because if it gets damaged, then you see termites are able to get into this tree. Now, in Afrikaans, which is the language, one of the languages here in South Africa, this tree is called a kanidoot, which means can't die. And it's true, this part of the tree now is probably going to die. Well, it's definitely going to die. It's been completely ripped off of the tree. But on the side, which is still attached to the ground, this is still going to be collecting nutrients from the soil, and it's going to pump those nutrients up into this bark, and it's actually going to start growing new branches from here, which is pretty amazing. Oh, and I've seen something else that's really cool. I'm going to pick it up and show you. I hope it's not live. No, it's not. Oh, that's really awesome. No, I pulled off its abdomen. Look at that. I just pulled off its abdomen by accident. It wasn't as fully attached as I thought it would be. This little creature... Oh, sit still. Does anyone know what this little creature was? Let me grab the abdomen for you so that you can see what the abdomen would have looked like as well. Just in there. Come now. Probably not the best idea to be sticking my fingers into a hole in a dead tree. All sorts of... There's the abdomen. Okay, that's the abdomen. It's a flattened body with very elongated chelicera. Look how wicked those things look. They look super sharp and wicked. So these are actually mouth parts that extend out of the body and then bring the food to these little chelicera right over there, which then chew it up. And very long legs, and normally it's got really long antennae which come out super far from the body. I'll give you a moment to think about what creature would have little pincers on the front of its body, very long, with really long antennae that look a bit like whips, which might be giving you a bit of a clue. So the antennae look a bit like whips. This creature is normally completely harmless to us as human beings. It does not do anything to us at all, although it looks very scary. In fact, it's one of the creatures... I keep mentioning Harry Potter. It's one of the creatures in Harry Potter which is depicted as being very dangerous, but it's not at all. Now, they like living in dark areas. Usually you find them in, storerooms and sheds. Nina, well done. Yes, absolutely. This is a tailless whip scorpion. It's just the body, or sorry, not the body, the exoskeleton. So this tailless whip scorpion has gotten larger. It's grown big enough that it doesn't fit inside this exoskeleton anymore. So what it's done is it's rubbed itself up against this dead tree, started to create a tear in its exoskeleton, and then pulls itself out of the exoskeleton. And it would have hid in here to be protected, because when its body first emerges, the new exoskeleton is very soft and it's very, very vulnerable to predation. And so it gives it a time to harden up before it keeps moving around. That's really awesome. Something that I have never really seen before, the exoskeleton of one of these. Super cool. But we're going to put this back and we'll send you over to Steve, who's now at a waterhole.
Thanks, Mike. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are at one of my favourite little watering holes in Buvasuk called Rubbing Post. There were tracks of a male leopard coming down here. We had elephants drinking here yesterday. And we're following up on tracks of a male leopard that we actually had early this morning that crossed onto Arethusa. And we followed them all the way back up to here. It sounds as if they are the tracks of the one and only Tingana. He's gone all the way from Buvasuk, all the way back over to Arethusa side. So he's still moving quite vast distances. And I'd love to see him. I haven't seen the Duke in ages. It's been way too long. But everybody, we are at a very nice watering hole. There's quite a few birds making some noises. So I'm going to do what I love to do at about this time of morning, and that's just to switch off and enjoy.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an early bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
I love being a cam-up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
So folks, our Pride has moved away from the other side of the dam and into the shade here, and we are just watching the little ones playing and trying to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of curiosity here, and we've got some blacksmith lapwings making a racket in the area who are not very impressed with their visitors to the waterhole, which has amused the cubs a bit. They're chasing them. There's been all sorts on the goes, huh? Always special to spend time with such little lion cubs. I was just chatting to one of our other guides, and I'm going to guess these guys are about 10, 11 weeks. We haven't seen a lot of them. This is actually the first time I've gotten to see them, so I'm very happy. But it is indeed special. They're still very spotty. This one's decided he's going to eat a bush. I'm just going to adjust slightly. There's one lying in the sun there who looks very cute. Can't quite get on the camera. BK to zoom in a bit there, but check this little fellow out. Very curious. It's nothing quite as cute as young lion cubs. So I couldn't hear who asked the question, but the question was, where's the father of these cubs? So I'm not certain exactly where. I do know one of our males this morning was found quite far east into Lachaba, so it could be him. But as to which of our three males specifically is their father, I would not be able to tell you. I do know the females occasionally try and confuse paternity by mating with different males. This just helps keep the cubs that much more safe because all the males then think they are theirs. So in this case, it could be one of any of our males. What's going on here? Wait. I think these little ones are still figuring out their paws and everything. They still occasionally trip over them. Oh, one's found a stick to play with. This could be entertaining. It's a very big new world for these little ones, so they're still going to be curious about everything. I look forward to watching them grow here in the green Kalahari and seeing what they get up to. Like all cats, it's getting hot, and they're going to be lazy for most of the day. We're very close to the mountains here, so I think that's where she's been hiding them, is in one of these valleys. I know Yuan found these little guys a few days ago in one of the valleys, so always interesting to see where these guys go. Sorry folks, just adjusting a touch there. Give you a bit more of a perspective what's going on here. They are spread out all over. So we're going to see what this Pride gets up to. We're going to send you across to Mike, who's on a bushwalk and has something to share with you. Enjoy.
So we haven't gone far, maybe 2 meters from where we were at that fallen tree. We found something really cool. Can you spot it? I don't know what it looks like in the camera. It's a really incredibly well camouflaged stick insect. This little creature was... Should I move it for you, Johan? Is it fine? So this little creature was clinging to my leg as we walked away from that tree, and at first I was about to flick it away thinking it was a piece of grass. Then I realized it was a stick insect. I mean, just look at the camouflage of this thing compared to this grass. I mean, it's even brown. The body is brownish with some reddish like stripes on it. The legs have got green on it. I mean, it looks exactly like this grass. It is phenomenal. Now, these creatures have some of the best camouflage, I think, of all the arthropods that you can possibly find out here. This one even had a defensive strategy. When I first tried to pick it up, once I saw it on my leg, I tried to pick it up and it curled its tail, which is on this end here. It curled its tail up like a scorpion in order to try and convince me that, hey, don't touch me, I'm dangerous. But of course, I'm smarter than a stick insect, hopefully. So I managed to figure out that it's not dangerous. Stick insects mostly just eat grass and vegetation. They eat leaves and little bits of vegetation, so not dangerous to us at all. But amazing. Look how still, you can even see it's got 2 of its legs, or at least this front leg here, is completely hanging in the air. Doesn't want to move. It wants to stay completely still because these are eaten frequently by birds, just like the European rollers, lilac-breast rollers. So that's why they have such great camouflage. They haven't got much else to protect them, unfortunately. It's a really spectacular find, and we don't get to see them too often, but we've got some massive stick insects here in southern Africa. In fact, the longest I've ever seen was probably almost as long as my wand here. Gabby, it does look a bit like a bamboo stick with extra little pieces sticking out of it. Sorry, there's a airplane flying over if that's bothering anyone with the audio. They often do in this area, as I mentioned, for different reasons. Now, this little bamboo-looking stick insect is quite a young one, I suspect. I suspect it's still going to grow a bit more because stick insects, like many others, grow wings once they get to their full, their last stage, I suppose their full molt, full adult stage. And their wings are often, when they open them, have really bright colors that they use as a bit of a startle demonstration in order to, when they see a predator getting close, they open their wings and gives the predator a big fright, and they're able to fly a short distance away and then close their wings and hide in the grass, just like you see right now. Oh, it's on the move. Where are you going? Let me help you out there. Should I give you something to grab onto? Look at that. Tries to grab onto my little wand in order to move across. Look how amazing. Okay, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move it into the grass, and you'll see how it just, look, there it goes. Look how incredibly well it's camouflaged now amongst the grasses. It's going to move somewhere where it feels safe, and then it will stay very still. Look at those hooks. They've got hooks on the ends of their legs, which help them to grip onto all the little things that they need to. Can you even see it now? I'm sure it's almost invisible. How awesome. When you really get down close to the undergrowth, you notice how much cool stuff there is. I mean, I keep saying to Evo, our backup, we'll just walk another 10 minutes or so, we'll keep walking, and then he takes a few steps, and then I'm like, oh, stop, please, I want to talk about this thing. So it's getting a little bit to that point. It's getting warmer now in the morning, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn around. We're not going to make it to Ndlovu Dam. We've still got another half an hour or so to walk down there. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it around and start heading back towards where we left our vehicle at Leopan, that muddy wallow that we saw right at the beginning. And hopefully we come into contact with some interesting animals on the way, whether it's those zebras and giraffes coming back or some elephants. Who knows what else we can find. So while we make our way to our mud wallow, we'll send you over to Steve at his waterhole.
Welcome back to Rubbing Post, everybody. Well, we're just taking it really easy here in the shade of this tree, listening to all the wonderful birds. And you might have heard a number of birds calling before. One was the black-crowned chagra. Very common bird. The other one was the brown-crowned chagra. And there were lots of this sounds you might have heard around the car, and that was wing fripping done by a group of chin spot battises that were having a go all around us. Now the chin spot battis call was also being made, the little, and they also do bill snapping, and they do this wing fripping, which is sort of a thing they do when they're being territorial, when they're competing with other battises. So very nice to hear. And there's also the tawny-flanked prunier calling, obviously the turtle dove, and then there was a lot of other birds calling in the mix, such as the southern black tit and a white-browed scrub robin. Emerald spotted wood dove in the distance. And we obviously spent some beautiful moments with our Egyptian goose, who is still a solo traveller here at a Rubbing Post. For the last month or so, this individual has been on its own, either looking for a partner or it's lost its partner. I can't say. Annie, age 6, we don't really have roosters in the wild here. But we did have some little water chickens earlier, and I have had some little water chickens at this watering hole as well. But roosters, chickens, were essentially a very wild bird for a long time, coming from all over the world, many different types of roosters that have since been sort of domesticated into what we now have as chickens, but they all originated from a wild bird. But the closest we have to a real chicken in this area is our guinea fowl, which is known as the bushveld chicken. The helmeted guinea fowl serve a very similar purpose and role in the environment. Black-headed oriole calling. Do you all have your own favourite watering hole you like to go and hang out at? I know many people that go to the Kruger and they've got very specific spots they like to go and sit out at. Some nice scenery, a bird hide. My last trip to the Kruger, I actually got an African skimmer at a place called Sable Dam, which was all the way back in October. That was very cool. I was very excited with that. Andy, it has taken some time, but it definitely is always a work in progress. When the students were doing level 1 courses with us, they had 90 bird calls to learn in the space of about a month, and they had to be proficient with them in a month. And so if you put in the time over a month or 2 months, you can learn the majority, not all of them, but the majority of the common birds you can learn in an area, but you have to be really keen and willing. If you just do a couple a day, it's quite easy to actually get through them in that space of time. But it's very easy to learn them from the bird app. Listen to the bird calls. But, being out in nature is probably the best place to learn them because the birds have very specific habitats. And you're not going to always hear the same birds in the same places. But here in the Kruger, here in the Sabi Sands, the habitat types are quite limited. We've got these watering holes, and then we've got the sort of upland bush willow felt, and then the riverine areas. But it's quite a mixture, the habitats. So there's basically those 3 major habitat types. And so, but the birds are quite interchangeable. So in this area here, I think it's quite easy to learn them, but it's practice, and you've got to constantly be listening. And if you're not listening, in the beginning they all sound like noise, but after you start realizing that whistle sounds different to that whistle, and start trying to practice what it sounds like. What does it sound like to you? Many of the bird books will actually give you a description of the sound, but I don't always find that helps me. I find doing it for myself helps me to learn. Dolly's got an African grey parrot that's copying her whistling. Well, Dolly, your African grey parrot, if it watches the show, must have come up with some incredible sounds. I was with a friend in January and they had an African grey and it was trying to learn hyena whoops. I was mimicking a hyena whoop and it was actually getting it. So they have an incredible ability to learn and to then throw you off, don't they? Copy all sorts of things, all sorts of phrases and words. Okay, well, we're probably going to move on from our watering hole, see what else we can find. Send you over to Lauren.
Unfortunately, our tortured mission was not successful, I'm afraid. But we have came back onto Djuma and found, well, one of my favorites. But I'm not entirely sure what species this is. It's a little bit tricky to see now that it's turned around. It has a really golden body. But I'm not sure if any of you can identify it from this visual. You know what to do. #WildEarth. It does look like it's got a reddish sort of tinge, red veins through the wings with those black dots, but I'm really not sure. And the way that it's sort of sitting right now, remember it's got 6 legs to coordinate. I can barely walk in a straight line with 2 legs. I'm always tripping up over my own 2 feet. Imagine having 6 and having to coordinate them all at the same time, and then have the remarkable ability to perch like this. Now, they do have sort of claws, if you like, and I use that word loosely, but they are able to grasp onto surfaces. But this positioning of its body weight, now although they're very light to us, it will have body weight that it's got to hold on those legs, and it just stays remarkably still. I wonder if we reverse, do you think we would get any better views of it? Okay, let's try. Okay. It's not flown away, that's one good thing. And that's a bit of a better view. It's dropped its wings. A common feature of the drop wings, and it's very golden in body, but I'm not entirely sure. You can see that it's just resting. Scanning around. They are diurnal, powered by the sun, but of course they're not going to fly the entire period throughout the day. So it's just resting. Probably getting ready for its next aerial hunt. I think I'll be a little bit heartbroken once the damselflies and the dragonflies and everything slowly starts to disappear. They really do make summer out here. So although we weren't able to show you them, I'm afraid, but it's good to know that Tandy and Mareebs are together and are on Torchwood. Torchwood is just a little bit tricky for signal for us. And it's also good to know that Shasha and Langa are dipping their paws into Djuma. There's definitely space for them in Djuma. And as of yet, no signs of Kalamba. As you know, it has been reported that she's been seen with suckle marks, so there's obviously a great deal of excitement here that she could be denning. This will be her first litter naturally, and of course it's very, very thick right now. It's not okay for any of us to just go bashing off and try to find a potential den site. Okay, we're going to move on from this dragonfly, and we are going to send you across to another live location.
So we're back here at andBeyond Ngala, and this morning we actually found a different pride lines to the one that you're seeing right now. Unfortunately, it was in an area where we didn't have any signal because it was down in this old riverbed. But eventually, as we moved on, some of the rangers have found another part of the pride, the same pride, the Birmingham pride. And we've just moved to where they are now. And you can see they're lying down just under the shade here. It is warming up quite a bit. Now, for all our viewers that might not know, so last year during April, we had one of our other rangers presenters, Eric, and he was in the riverbed where this lioness was carrying these 2 young cubs. Now, they are the ones that you see slightly to the left of our screen here. So these 2 lying down. So this is the young male and female that was born a year ago. And it's incredible to see how much they've grown. Also, just by looking at some of the bigger females, it does look like their bellies are quite full. So maybe during the evening they were successful with the hunt. But probably not something big, or else they would have been around the carcass. There's also another male lion that's right in front of us here. So I'm going to try asking Paul just to show this male. He's not, I don't think it's very easy to spot him because of where he's lying down, but you'll see there's a bush right on this side of us. And if we zoom into that you can see he's lying down. So he's one of the, what we refer to as those Ross males, one of the Ross males. And he is the one probably with the darker mane, because if you look at him, you'll see around his shoulders down towards his legs, it's really dark in comparison to the other male. Now this morning, the first few lions we found was one of the blonder or the lighter colored Ross male, as well as a female with the 3 young cubs. And then of course these ones here looks like this male, and then the bigger female, the mother of the 2 youngsters, and then 2 younger females together. Now this mother's just turned around onto one of the youngsters, so I'll ask Paul just to head back to these ones just off to the right here. Often after a good meal, they turn onto their backs with their legs up into the air like that. You might see there's quite a few flies around these lions and it's bugging them. You can see the one with his head up in the air, how the ears are constantly twitching, trying to get rid of the flies.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Cheetah. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with WildEarth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Cheetah's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live.
Well, it's getting very warm here at andBeyond Phinda, and these cheetah have managed to find the only patch of shade available on this whole airstrip. And you can see they're still actually panting, even though they're in the shade. And I think that's just a combination of the heat and how much they've eaten. I mean, to eat a impala between two cheetah is a lot of meat, and so much meat in their stomach actually pushes up against their diaphragm and leaves less space for their lungs to expand properly. As a result, they have to take much shorter, shallower breaths, and that's mostly the reason that they're panting right now. Cheetahs can't sweat, so as they pant also, they're releasing hot air from their mouth, out of their tongue, and almost acts as a radiator for them. The air will cool down their mouth and their tongue and cool them down. So Catherine, you've asked whether these cheetahs will go and drink water after their meal. They may, because it is quite hot, but cheetahs actually get most of the moisture that they need from their food. They actually lap up the pools of blood that are formed from when they open up the carcass. There's often a lot of blood that comes out, and the first thing they do is lap up all that blood that spills out from the wound or inside the cavity of the animal that they've, or the rib, like the rib cavity of the animal that they're feeding on. And from that they get lots of moisture. In fact, sometimes cheetah don't need to drink at all, only when it's very, very hot. So I don't think these cheetah will end up needing to find water. Of course, if they do happen to come across water, and there is lots of standing water around at Phinda at the moment because of all the rain, they will drink, because they won't say no to water, but they won't need to travel long distances now to purposely find water to drink. They are quite fine without doing that. They'll survive. It's quite different to, for example, a lion or a leopard, who will usually, after eating, will rest for a while and then immediately go and find some water to drink. I think because leopards and lions are a lot bigger, and because of their body weight and the amount of water they need, it won't be satisfied just from lapping up blood from a carcass. They'll need to supplement it with actual water. But cheetahs are very slight, and normally there's only one or two of them feeding from a carcass at once, whereas lions might have a whole pride feeding from a carcass, and they won't be able to get enough moisture from that blood. But I think we've seen the cheetah doing all that they'll be doing today. I think they're going to be resting under the shade for the rest of the day. So we might actually leave them now and go see if we can find something else for the last bit of our morning drive. And we're going to send you over to Lauren, who has got herself a bit of a roadblock.
I have found the culprits behind the alarm calling. We actually had them earlier this morning, all walking towards the vehicle. But now it seems like they are finding the smallest patches of shade. And they're resting. We've positioned ourselves a little... Oh, dearie me. Well, that's some early morning baboon antics for you. There you go. Well, they're very promiscuous, as you know, and they will mate up to 100 times, the females that is, with various different males. And it's just their social structure. It's the way it works. It benefits the females in a troop of baboons to mate, well, many, many different times with different males. This is very similar to leopards and lions when the sort of chance of successful fertilization is low and the sort of strive for the strongest genes is high. You will mate with many, many different males. You want the strongest genes from those males in the troop. And of course, they do have that unique social structure. It's not just the one dominant male, you've got a band of dominant males. And it probably benefits the females to mate with every single one of them. And it's actually the female that solicits the interaction with the male. When a female is in estrus, she is the one that has to signal to the male, and she normally sort of flashes her eyebrows at them, giving them the sign. And then, of course, the males will be able to understand through chemical cues as well that she's in estrus. Very similar to leopards, the females will also present the male with her rump, and again, a good indication that it's time to mate. But there's a peak in the estrus cycle, as with any mammal, at least, for in the sort of peak time for ovulation and therefore fertilization. And it's said that during the peak of her estrus, the very sort of heart of it, that's when she will choose to mate with only one dominant male. So she'll mate with many throughout, but during the peak, when she's most likely to be ovulating and therefore ensure successful fertilization, she will just choose one dominant male during that time. I'm not actually sure, but it could also be down to social structure in baboons as well. And this could ensure that mating with many, many different males keeps the social bonds, it's cohesive. It can also confuse paternity as well. That could be another reason, but I'm not sure. Jackson, you're asking, do the males fight with females? They can do, yes. They have a unique social system, as I mentioned, and it's called oligarchy. So you have that band of dominant males. Oh, fight with each other for the females. Yes, they can do. They can generally be quite aggressive with one another. But it's normally the case that they have a harem system. Or they don't have a harem system. You've got the band of males and the females are promiscuous. So they will mate with many, many different males. The problems are normally the younger males. So these younger males who are not dominant, and they could potentially be immigrants to that troop, they are the problem ones, and they are the ones that are sort of generally more aggressive. The dominant band of males don't like that, and that's when you often find the fights break out. So yes, they do fight for the females. The males can be very aggressive within baboon troops. So there is a hierarchy, believe it or not. Although there's a band of males at the top, there's actually a hierarchy, and it's those younger males that they don't want having access to their females. Oh, what a lovely baboon site, and I might actually stay here and enjoy this a little while longer, and we're going to send you guys across to Nicky with his lions.
We had a wildebeest that came through earlier on that was actually on its way down to the water, and probably 30 meters away from these lions, spotted the lions and ran off. And you might just hear some alarm calling back, like this deep snort, like a tsh, tsh. And that's from the wildebeest. You can see some of them have lifted up their head, but because of that wildebeest alarm calling, they know that their chances are pretty much finished with that wildebeest, because he's out in the open, and it's going to be really hard for these lions because the element of surprise is gone. And you can see some of them just close their eyes now. And actually what could be quite nice is with the sun's movement, you see those young cubs that are on the outskirts, so eventually as the sun comes out, they'll start getting up and moving maybe into some deeper shade. It's a nice breeze blowing through here. You can see now and again all of them are looking in the same direction where the wildebeest is alarming. So I'm going to be quiet and let you try and hear the wildebeest. Now see the one cub's just gotten up now. Just been in the sun and now going to move into some shade. Looking at this one, especially near his neck, towards his legs, you'll notice there's quite a long, or the hair is quite long around his chin, so this is the young male. Dominic, with females, sometimes they do get kicked out of the pride, especially if they're still young. I have seen it before, especially with the younger female that was part of this pride, and when the pride eventually started splitting up, where the female with the youngsters started hunting with maybe an older female, they didn't allow her back into this pride, and she was constantly on the outskirt and constantly they'd chase her away. Excuse me, but the chances are more likely that when a lion pride, when there's too many individuals in it, that the females actually start branching off by themselves. And there will be a few experienced females with them, but you do get the odd occasion where the females can be kicked out of the pride. And it's just because of the competition for food. But of course, as we know, in general, it's more likely the males that are kicked out of the pride by, of course, the other males, or the more dominant males that take us over a pride or that are in charge of a pride. And also looking at the one female, you'll see the one that's furthest back from where we are. You'll see there's a bit of sunlight on her paws. And as the sun is shifting, if we give it some time, she might also get up and start moving closer to where these other ones are lying down in the shade. Where they've positioned themselves is in this nice little gully. And of course, with a bit of shade, and there's a light breeze that's blowing through this gully down towards the ravine area. So it's a really nice, cool place for them to lie down. And often, like this wildebeest, if animals come down to drink, they'll be waiting here. Even though it does look like they might have had a meal. I mean, lions are opportunistic. They never know when the next meal is going to be. So if another opportunity presents itself coming down, they'll make use of it. Even if they have to kill and drag it into the shade and slowly for the next couple of days feed off of it. See the one lioness now at the back, she's gotten up. Andrew, 11 years old, that's a very good question. I mean, if I look at the lions, maybe because of the fact that they are looking directly into the sun, might be one of the reasons, but also like there's a lot of flies around them. And every time the flies get quite close to their eyes, they'll just close their eyes. And you'll see them even flicking their ears to try and get rid of them. In some cases, you might find with males, if they've been fighting a lot around the carcass, they sometimes get nerve damage around the face. And so as they're sitting, as they squint their eyes, the one side of the face might go up, but the other side hangs down a bit. But with these lions, I think maybe there's a lot of factors involved. Flies, looking into the sun. Maybe because of the wind drying it out, so they just close them more regularly to keep them wet. now, while we enjoy these lions for the next little while, let's head across to Lauren with some baboons.
I think this is the longest baboon sighting I've sort of been able to sit and just watch. And the social interactions have been absolutely incredible. To just sit quietly, they're very relaxed, because sometimes they're not, and just watch them. Watch how they're... Sorry about that. And watch their interactions with one another, the dominant ones, the large males, the females, the youngsters. It's unbelievable. You can see they're grooming each other here. Just like we sometimes groom each other. It's very, very important in a troop of baboons. And as long as, going back to what I was saying earlier, as long as everyone maintains their position in the hierarchy, similar to hyenas, if there's a hierarchy in any organism, as long as you stay at your position, there really shouldn't be much trouble. What happens, as I already touched on, is when the young immigrants come in and try to take over the females, or when those that are not dominant or submissive try to act dominant, that's when aggression will take place, and that's when fights will break out. But as long as a dominant band of males sort of control the troop, it's not a harem, the troop, then there shouldn't be many problems. It's a very interesting and quite a unique social structure, oligarchy. Lisa, they are very vocal and they run up the tree. We heard them alarm calling earlier, and I don't know whether it was Shasha and Langa. We were in the Mulwati. Unfortunately, we were just a bit too late. So they're very, very vocal, just like Impala's alarm calling, or the vervet monkeys. They sound their alarm, which creates sort of chaos. Everyone's alert, everyone's on the lookout, and normally that's enough to deter a predator. But if not, they do run into the trees. And generally speaking, you're not really going to find a lion or a hyena or a dog running up a tree, but of course leopards can. So they do say that the biggest enemy... Oh, look at that youngster, Davy. Oh, you see that? So yes, trees are the area of safety, but of course there's also threats in the trees. Snakes, aerial predators, and naturally leopards can get into trees. They can also run very fast, Lisa, believe it or not, on all four legs. But you see regularly images of leopards with baboons in their mouth, which is rather sad. You also see the opposite. You will see images of baboons with baby leopards in their mouth. Pete, you're asking at what age do baboons start climbing trees? I'm not entirely sure, but generally speaking, when you see them clinging onto the mother's back, like you can see some of them have got youngsters on them, that's normally, or belly, sorry, they're normally on the belly. That's normally for the first 5 weeks of their life. And they're basically, well, they've got an on-tap supply of milk if they're clinging to the belly, and they've also got a perfect mode of transportation that's safe. But normally after 5 weeks old, the babies can walk. The youngsters can walk. They'll start to get a little bit mobile, and that's when they ride jockey on the back. That's when you'll find them moving from the mother's belly, the safety of the tummy, onto the back. So I would imagine after 5-6 weeks old, they're going to start to climb trees. Maybe not the tallest of trees, but they'll start to use their limbs, use their muscles. And it's going to be necessary. The bigger they get, the more of a struggle it's going to be to climb onto mom. So trees are your only sort of safety point, your vantage point. So I'm going to go for around the 5-6 week mark there. They're just so fascinating to watch. They really are. They can become a huge problem around human civilizations. But really, out here in the wild like this, they're just fascinating. Look at them all crammed into that little patch of shade. Okay, we're going to bumble a little bit closer to home. Breakfast is calling, and you never know what's around quarantine. And for now, we're going to send you across to Mike.
So we did get to the vehicle much earlier than we thought, so we decided to just drive from there to Ndlovu Dam. As you can see, the elephants are once again at the dam. There's these 3 bulls busy having a little discussion in the middle of the dam there. Having a quiet word with each other. You know, it's the perfect place to have a little meeting. The pool bar. And there's another elephant that's busy destroying the wall. Once again, the elephants keep breaking the dam wall down, digging their tusks into it, trying to loosen up the dirt and throw some nice cool mud on themselves. It's really not going to last long at all if they keep doing that, which is a shame. It is just what it is, though. This dam was built probably 20, 30, 40 years ago, so no idea how much longer it's going to survive, which will be a shame if the dam doesn't hold water anymore. We'll certainly have less elephant activity at our camp. But elephants will be elephants. They are engineers of the bush, after all. We say that they are a keystone species. They stop others from becoming dominant, breaking down trees that become too abundant, opening up areas, creating new habitats. Got one having a rest with its chin on the dam wall there. Maybe even having a bit of a scratch. Nothing wrong with it. You can see there's another elephant approaching from the dam wall. Wonder Girl. I'm glad you enjoy it. It reminds me of the scenes that you'd see in the Chobe National Park. Which is widely known to be the place with the highest elephant densities, and they're always in the water. I mean, look at these 2 bulls here playing. Some play mounting happening there. In fact, there's 3. There's the front one, the second one is trying to mount, and the third one is on top of that one. And this is every single day, without fail. You almost start to get a bit jaded about the whole thing, because whether you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner, whether you're on a lecture in the lecture tent, there's just always elephants in the dam. And so the first few days you see the students are just gobsmacked, walking around with their mouth hanging on the ground. And then, as time goes on, they start to get a bit nonchalant, which we have to always warn everyone. Constantly remind them that these are wild animals. Although they look like they're having fun and they're used to us and they understand that we're here, we can't take it for granted. We had Isilwini in our camp. Now, Wonder Girl, he doesn't like to swim because his head is very heavy and his big tusks and must be quite cumbersome. But he comes into our camp all the time, and we just have to keep our distance and try and, make sure everyone's safe. And it actually makes you feel alive. Having these, potentially very dangerous animals moving about, it keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. I can't see the hippo this morning. Perhaps the hippos moved off during the night, which wouldn't surprise me. The water is getting lower, and there's more and more elephant activity around the place. I'm just using my binoculars. Oh no, I think I can see it. It's just behind the leadwood trees on the right side there. Can't really see it from here, but at least the hippo's still around as well. Another herd of elephants arriving just now. Phenak, totally agree. I wish I could be more playful with the elephants, but every time I try and get in the water with them, they don't seem to like it very much. No crocodiles in here that we know of, so the potential is there. Could go for a bit of a swim. But the hippo would not I'd not be best pleased to have a rival. Oh, look at that one's not rubbing its bum on that damn wall. When the owners come and ask me, Mike, what happened to the damn wall? Why is it crumbling? I don't know if elephant bum rubbing is going to be an acceptable excuse, but what can I do? What can I say? It's the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. And this is just the beginning of the hot part of the day. It's very warm right now. We're going to get to the low 30s today. And so there'll be a lot of elephants coming down, and I'm sure the buffalo herd might arrive. I know they're in the area somewhere. Certainly know there'll be impalas and giraffe that come down to drink. The sounds are very soothing. So unfortunately the time is coming that we have to start making our way back to our HQ. But in the meantime, we'll send you over to Nikki, who's still on a bumble.
So as Mike was saying earlier on, it is definitely warming up quite a bit. And we decided to come down into the river. So we've left those lions. They're not going to be doing too much going forward, because knowing lions and the behaviors, they can sleep for quite a bit of the day, especially in the heat of the day, which is now, we can actually feel it's really warm. I think as soon as we stop again, I'll probably take my jacket off. The plan was to head into the riverbed, maybe see if there's some elephants that are coming down to drink, but also maybe it's the last part of the morning where we could find a leopard, maybe along the banks of the river, maybe in the river itself. I haven't seen a leopard in this area for quite a while, and the last time I saw one here was probably a month ago. And it was a very relaxed male that wasn't seen too far away from here. So all I'm hoping for now is maybe something else have come down. I mean, we're saying leopard, but there's so many other options that we could possibly see. Even buffaloes coming down, some of the older buffalo bulls lying down in the reeds. Hold on. But it's always, we have this little saying that whenever we're in doubt of what route to take the river. It's so beautiful. So this is the dry Timbavati River. It was flowing the beginning of the year, but it's a more seasonal river. Whenever there's a lot of rain up in the catchment areas, we have it where the water will come down, and it will actually cover the banks of this river if there's a lot of water. But most of the year, it's pretty dry, as you can see now. And underneath, probably not even a meter, we'll find some water. So still, as we're driving here, there's water flowing underneath us. I actually see quite a few elephant tracks going up and down here. And it might be, imagine like a herd coming down from this area, crossing over, walking along the river, and then from there onto the other bank, or maybe even you can see where there's a lot of reeds around. Maybe a nice little spot to go and dig for some water. But always a little treat to drive down the river like this. Pete, the elephant population in Ngala, I mean, it varies because there's no fences between us and the neighboring areas, as well as with the Greater Kruger National Park. And so animals, especially the elephants, tend to move freely. We do find that because of the water, so there are quite a few waterholes across Ngala, but there's a lot of elephant movement. So not very dense at the moment, but certain times of the years, especially in the winter time, I would say it's more dense. And probably you'll be looking at, I mean, this is going to be an estimation, probably at a little bit less than 1,000 elephants that could be on the reserve at any given point in time. We've been here before where there's herds of over 200 elephants that would move through the reserve, and then other days where we barely find an elephant. So I think it's very dependent on the season as well as the amount of water that's available in the area and the surrounding area. So if there's not a lot of water in the surrounding areas, they might all start coming to Ngala, and then you might find big herds of elephants. So as we go along, there's quite a few of the bigger trees, like there's some botany trees, jackalberry, and some fig trees. But the jackalberry trees are the ones often that lean over the bank of the river, and we're trying to see if there's any signs of leopard in those trees. You even find with vultures in particular, so we have 5 different species of vultures that we find in this area. And the most common one along the river is the white-backed vulture and the hooded vulture, and they use these big jackalberry trees to make their nests in. So we'll just carefully scan as we drive past them. Oh, there's actually 3 hyenas that are right here in the riverbed. So I'm just going to try and position the vehicle a little bit here, just so we can have a look. Might even hear some tree squirrels alarm calling at them. Remember how we mentioned it's starting to warm up, so these hyenas probably came down and decided to go and lie down in a nice cool sand under the shade there.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
For all of you WildEarth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully, Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
So although we were going to head to HQ, we just decided that this was too beautiful to leave. I mean, how could we possibly leave with these elephants still wowing us with their crazy antics here at Ndlovu Dam? See, a whole herd has now arrived with all sorts of youngsters as well. Lots of ear flapping, lots of swimming. It's funny, the herd with the youngsters is often a little bit shy of going into the water, especially when the bulls are super enthusiastic like this, because they don't want to, accidentally get one of the little ones a little bit squashed. They just tend to stay away, but it looks like it's the beginning of a good day at the beach. We were commenting a bit earlier on how warm it already was, so I suspect this is going to be the status quo for the rest of the day, which is always worth it. I might go and bring the ukulele down, sit on the edge of the water and just serenade the elephants as they swim. Could think of actually nothing better. Maybe I'll even bring the hammock out finally. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed this morning's safari. It's been absolutely fabulous. It's been great looking at all the little things as well as all the big and wild animals all over the different locations in Southern Africa. Please join us again this afternoon at 3:30, where we'll go out once again for an afternoon safari live from the African bush. Answer all your questions. For the rest of the day, have a good time.